What's going on, XRP Army? Welcome back to the channel. If you're watching the replay of this stream, go ahead and skip ahead to the 4-minute mark. I am not going to waste your time. In that time, I'm going to be welcoming people in, getting the stream buffered, letting everyone know how the flow of things will go. So if you're coming into the stream, please let me know in the chat. But if you're watching the replay and you're still here and you haven't skipped ahead yet, the way things go is I will welcome everyone in. We will go over the chart and the current the chart and the current price, and then from there we will cover the ETF inflows and all of the news. And we do have a lot of news coming in today. There's a lot of false news coming in, actually, too. Even Brad Garlinghouse is out there calling people out. I don't know if you guys saw the short. For some reason it didn't run through well today. But on that being said, what's going on, Quelly? Welcome to the stream. Appreciate you. Hopefully audio is coming through well. But yeah, so we'll do the chart, we'll do the ETF inflows. I got a new feature for you guys today I think is fun and cool. I'm going to bring in to the streams from now on, as well as the news we will go over. So again, if you're just now coming into the stream, we are going to wait till the 4-minute mark before we officially get things kicked off. And again, if you're watching the replay of the stream, same thing. I'm just making sure everything's working the way it's supposed to. It was a painful day yesterday. We're up 1% today, so that's good. We're on the mend, as you would say, but we're going to cover that as well. I do think we have some information as far as kind of. I mean, there's a little bit of information. I have a theory. We'll cover the theory. Again, not financial advice, and nothing in the stream is ever financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. You need to do your own research. This is for entertainment and educational purposes only. And what's up, Brad? I see you in there. Thank you for the mic check. I appreciate it. All right, let's see here. Man, there's a lot of stuff going on this week. I can't believe, honestly, as we're waiting here, I'm going to rant a little bit. But we had so much positive adoption news and regulation over the last 2 weeks, and the market is just clearing out. But that being said, in order to make a move either one way or the other, we have to clear out both the longs and the shorts, right? All the players and the liquidity. And that's unfortunately what happens when we get institutions involved. We get ETF inflows, but at the same time, we get people messing around with leverage. So again, if you're coming into stream, we will start everything at the 4-minute mark. I'm just letting people get in, letting things get buffered. We've kind of gone over the flow of things, and I do see you all coming in. Steven, what's going on? And Daniel, I see you as well. Quelly, I will get to your question. Tokenization detail for those who don't understand it. What does it mean in practical terms? Okay, I'm going to save that for when we get to the chat portion, Quelly. All right, so when I get to the chat portion, I'll save that because I think that's a good piece of information for me to discuss and layer on top of. So thank you. I will come back to that. Will the Epstein file release affect Tether or BTC? Another question. Okay, you guys have some great questions leading in. Thank you. You guys already know to engage in the chat. I love it. We will cover these for sure when we get to the chat portion of the stream. I'm going to get through everything else because, as you guys know, right, I had the strokes in the past, so I have some memory issues. So I don't want to derail myself, so I have to keep it segmented for you. Otherwise, I get all scattered brain, and that's no good. So I'll keep it segmented, but I will definitely do the chat portion, and I will answer those questions. So I appreciate you all. Everyone who's coming in, appreciate you. Make sure you hit the like button. Engage in the chat, as always, and we'll get to the 4-minute mark here. So real quick, we got a few seconds before I get to the 4-minute mark, so I'm just going to give you guys a quick disclaimer because I know my regulars are always the first ones in here, and I love and appreciate every single one of you. But quick disclaimer for all of those of you coming in and watching this: if you want the videos without the hype, without the clickbait titles, without all the nonsense, okay, please like, share the video, share it far and wide, because it's very difficult to grow without clickbait titles. And as I've settled into being this more straight line person for you guys and trying to avoid all that because of all the noise that's out there, I've started to notice that. So I don't want to do the clickbait, but please like and share the videos if you can. I would appreciate it. That being said, we're at the 4-minute mark. If someone could let me know how many people are in the stream, I'd really appreciate it. And we will get started with today's stream. Let's take a look here. Let me get everything set up. All right. Let's see here. All right. Good afternoon, XRP Army. Welcome back to the channel. If it's your first time here, kick back, relax. I'm not going to ask you to do anything except engage in the chat. The chat is the lifeblood of the stream. But if it's your second time, please hit subscribe, smash the like button, and engage in the chat. The chat makes everything move. But before we get to the chat, I'm going to first hop into the price action, right? We're going to cover the chart. Then I have a new feature for you, as well as the ETF inflows. And then we will cover all of the information coming out. Because yes, even though we had a massive price drop yesterday, and that has nothing to do with XRP. We established that if you were in the stream yesterday or watched the replay yesterday. That was because of the hawkish Japan, right? Bank of Japan being hawkish about potential rate hike. Well, not potential rate hike. It's 98% priced in, at least in the Japanese markets. And we're going to cover that because I think we might have an opportunity here. I hope you guys listen. Again, nothing is financial advice. So we'll cover all the news and then what I think might happen, because I do think based on the information I'm seeing, I don't usually call this stuff out. You guys know that. But I think we might have an opportunity here. So that being said, let's hop into the price action and the chart, get everything started for us. So as you guys can see, it sucked yesterday. We got all the way down to 185-ish, in the 185s, 185.3 before we had a rebound back up to 191. Why did we rebound today? Why did we drop yesterday? Well, yesterday was basically how when we talk about ETFs and stuff, right? So you have the buy the rumor, sell the news, right? We talked about with the ETFs coming out and whatnot. Okay. So this is the reverse of that. We're talking about the rate hike in Japan and how it could potentially will unwind the carry trade further and cause liquidity issues. So this is the reverse of that. This is the sell the bad news or sell the bad rumor and then buy the actual hike. I think potentially something like that. I do think that's a potential setup, and we'll go into that further. But I do think that also opens us potentially to a further pullback. There's layers to this, and again, not financial advice. So that being said, back into the chart. So as you can see, we came up and we tested 194, trying to get back into the wedge that we drew out a few days ago. And then we came straight back down. And now we're hanging out right about 192. Again, I still think our bottom support, I do not think we will go past 175. The reason we have established that line is because of the two major buy pressures that happened. One 3 weeks ago with that $3.1 billion purchase at the $1.75 level. And then the other one on October 10th, when we had the sell-off, there was another massive purchase at the $1.77 level. So I don't think the money makers are going to let it go that far. So if we do have another pullback, I do believe that is the bottom. Again, my opinion, not financial advice. That being said, if we do pull back, I am thinking that we might actually see a run up on Friday based on I think the hike is going to come out, and I think we might see a run up. I think it's already priced in now, and I think I think the market makers are playing right now. Just again, my opinion. But that being said, let's look at the whole crypto market. Well, not the whole crypto market, but this is, I put the top there. It started with the top 100 and it was just way too crowded. So I put in basically the top 25 plus a couple that I'm keeping an eye on outside of XRP up here in the top corner. But some of the ones that I do follow, Chainlink, XLM, Solana, Algo, these, I do follow several of these, and that's why I have them up here. If there is anything you guys would like to see in this, when we take an overall look at the crypto market, I'm going to start adding that in once a day for a minute or two. But if there's a crypto you want to see, let me know in the chat, let me know in the comments, and I will gladly add it. This is basically what I would hope to do, is basically just turn this into a community crypto segment where we kind of keep an eye on all the things we're interested in. So that's my theory and thesis on here. So let me know what you guys think, and let me know what you would like to see. Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the chat if you have a crypto you would like to follow as well that we could start touching on along with our XRP. That being said, let's look and see what the US dollar versus the yen is doing today and what that has to do with Bitcoin. So if we refresh it, look at today, we're starting to see, we had a decline and we're starting to see a steady incline. See, last 5 days has been bad. So let's look at Bitcoin and see what that has to do with Bitcoin, because we have been talking about that. It has a big impact. Bitcoin says, let's look at, I can't do the last 5 days. I can do the week though. So if we look at the last week of Bitcoin, this is what it looks like. And if we look at the last 5 days, well, let's look at the, I can't do the last week on here, but if we look at the last 5 days of the yen versus the dollar, right? This is the dollar strength to the yen. If we look at the last 5 days and we look at the last week of Bitcoin, it looks eerily similar. Again, we watch it. I mean, you can't, pictures are pictures, guys. I mean, that's all there is to it. So that's where we are now. Let me pull back to XRP here, and then we're going to cover ETFs. And there's a lot of confusion about ETFs. I really want to talk about what ETF inflows are versus ETF outflows, because I think there's a lot of confusion based on some of the comments I get in the shorts on what inflows are and what actually being held in supply is in ETF custody. There's differences, there's nuances to this, and everyone wants to complain, or not complain, but it's not everyone. There's always a select amount of individuals that want to argue each intricate point. So that being said, let's hop into what is going on with the ETF inflows. We can get updated information. So amidst the crash yesterday, right? Well, crash, 8% pullback roughly for XRP yesterday. Excuse me. That being said, Franklin Templeton yesterday, when we checked, was at 87 million. Amidst that 8% pullback, XRP ETFs still had net inflows. People don't understand how that happens. That means people aren't selling. More people are buying ETF shares than there are people selling ETF shares. It is not reflected in the price. The price follows XRP. So that's how XRP can be down and we can still have net inflows. And again, there have been outflows from Bitcoin. There have been outflows from Ethereum. There have been outflows from Solana. XRP has had 19 consecutive days of inflows. That means institutions have not released XRP or any shares. There are more people coming in than going out. That is bullish, even amongst the price going down. It means institutions are still buying. They're just getting a discount. They're getting a better discount than we are right now, and people are mad about it. And you know what? They should be. We front ran this thing, and now we're paying for it. But if you sell now, you're really paying for it. Again, not financial advice. So that being said, let's look at Franklin Templeton. We got 87 million, and we're going to refresh and see what they had after that 8% pullback. Let's see what it changed to, if anything. Oh, look, it went up to 91 million. Huh, that's funny. This is why we track this every day. So Grayscale went, or not Grayscale, Franklin Templeton, 4 million, even amongst all the things you hear, whales selling and price going down. Okay, let's look what's actually happening. We're just funneling it right into these ETFs, guys. And people wonder why the rich get richer. It's sad. So Grayscale was at 107 million. And we refresh. Why'd you put me all the way to the top? Oh, you're making me agree to stuff. Okay. Where'd it go? Why do I have to go all the way through this crap? Oh, what are you doing to me, Grayscale? I don't want to look at that. I just want the number. They changed their page on me when I refreshed it. Oh, here. Oh, they just moved me. Oh, look at that. Okay. 107 million. They're still at 107. So no change for Grayscale. Sorry about that. They messed up the whole page on me. Canary Capital went from 171 million going to 171 million. So no change in Canary Capital today. Bitwise went from 104 million to no change, 104 million. And 21 shares went from 120 million to 120 million. So no change. So we saw still 4 million additional XRP being gobbled up by the ETFs. And again, engage in the chat. Let's see here. Don't worry, Dragonizable. I always appreciate your negative energy. That being said, so actually, I don't want to get to that yet. Let me go back here. That being said, so ETF inflows. We discussed how you could have inflows and still have the price go down. There have been no outflows, right? There have been no shares. More shares have been purchased than have been sold every single day. That's how you get net inflows versus the outflows. So again, the only They hold the longest record for consecutive days of inflows, even amidst this entire pullback since they've been coming out. So again, we are people are feeding the institutions right now. And when we talk about that, I have some information for you, but I want to come to this. And I do think this is important because it ties into what we're talking about price. So let me pull this up for you. So XRP prints a 45,900% liquidation imbalance as bulls take charge over price. What does this mean and why is this important? So hear me out. Let me read this to you. It will make sense. XRP just showed the market how quickly control can change hands when positioning gets biased one way. Just in the last hour, XRP printed 45,901% liquidation imbalance, which is one of the most extreme readings seen across the majors in recent days. Total liquidations hit 364,800, but the split shows the real story. Shorts absorbed 364,000 and forced closures, while long liquidations barely crossed $793 or 793 as per CoinGlass. Compared to Bitcoin and Ethereum, which both had similar headline liquidation totals of 340,000, but with much more even distributions. XRP stood out. The pressure was on the sellers, and once the price started moving, there was no support cushion. Stops were triggered, positions blew out, and bids kept absorbing supply without needing a dramatic spike. So the XRP chart reveals it all. In the meantime, XRP climbed from 186, which is where we fell to 194, printing higher lows throughout the session. The move was not just a quick squeeze candle that fades quickly, but a confident intraday advance where each pause invites another round of short covering. That kind of structure usually shows where the most pressure is, not just a rush to make a decision. What's important now is how the initial is not the initial headline, but what comes after. When shorts are cleared like this, the price often stops falling for a simple reason. The most motivated sellers have already sold. So why am I pointing this out? And again, you guys know I normally do not talk about price and talk about this stuff. This to me means they have and are setting the floor. If you go back and look at the actual XRP chart, let me pull it up for you. If you go back and look at the XRP chart, you can see how massively and how long this was oversold. Again, this is the 1 hour chart. This is not a 1 minute chart. This is not a 5 minute chart. We were oversold from 11 p.m. yesterday from 7 a.m. yesterday to 11 p.m. yesterday, XRP was oversold. So I really don't think there's a ton of room for it to fall further. Now, it is possible. Again, like we said, $1.75 level is our protection. But I don't know. It's just reaffirming my thought on the buy the bad news Friday. Again, not financial advice, but when I see those things, it makes me raise an eyebrow. Okay. So back to the information now that I've covered all that. And there's still more things that actually line up with that. But let's talk about some good news, right? We love XRP good news. Actually, we kind of don't right now because the more good news we get, the lower the price goes, it seems like. And again, everyone engage in the chat. Thoughts, questions, comments, anything you guys have to say, I want to know. Let's take a look here. Going into more information. So I actually came across this. It's not super relevant, but someone else doing technical analysis. And again, my theory wasn't based on technical analysis, but someone else doing technical analysis was talking about he predicts there will be an XRP drop to $1.75 and then a rise to $16. So he got his technical analysis bringing up the same exact spot of $1.75. He's predicting a massive rebound. Again, not financial advice. I'm not predicting that, but he's calling out the same level that I am for support, and he's expecting a bounce. Why he's expecting a bounce, I don't know. But again, what I'm saying is I'm seeing that the selling pressure seems to be gone by every technical metric. Came across this. We were talking about demand, and I always talk about supply and demand. And everyone wants to say the ETFs aren't doing anything. Remember, crypto ETFs only account for 1 to 2%. 1 to 2% of all ETF investment. And they're expecting a 10 to 20x over the next 5 years in crypto investment. So think about that. If 1 to 2% means we're doing $1 billion of assets under management a month for XRP, and they
we have some institutional events going on this week as well, and I think institutional demand is just a really interesting benchmark this year. So from Franklin Templeton's perspective, how are you evaluating institutional demand at the moment in 2025?
Yeah, lots of different things. So one is kind of anecdotally with the conversations that we have, and when we think about institutional, I mean, this can be, everything from, very small institutions to large sovereign wealth funds and kind of everything in between, pensions, endowments. And then, when I think about, for instance, like the ETF product or ETP product, when we look at the mix of buyers there, I do think we are seeing more institutional appetite. Those types of products are a great way to dip your toe into digital assets. And then in terms of appetite for exposure that maybe goes beyond what's offered in those ETPs, I think we're seeing that as well. So really kind of across the board, both a willingness to be not just open to the technology, but embrace it, and then a willingness and an appetite on the asset class side to think about different ways to get exposure to it.
So, not just a willingness and exposure or an appetite for it, but they're on board, both on all sides. I mean, come on. This is Franklin Templeton telling us that. And I understand they have their own XRP ETF, but crypto is coming. It's not going anywhere. This pullback is temporary. I mean, CME adds XRP and Solana to spot quoted futures yesterday. Again, more money coming into XRP and Solana. Okay. Continuing with XRP and Solana, Ripple exec declares we want XRP everywhere as XRP expands into Solana DeFi. Luke Judges, head partner success at Ripple X, appeared on stage alongside Vipul at the Solana Foundation product marketer known for his past criticism of XRP. The setting itself drew attention. Judges introduced Ripple X as the unit responsible for supporting XRP Ledger and XRP adoption. He stressed that Ripple did not attend the event to unveil a product launch. Instead, the focus centered on supporting ecosystem builders across chain. So they are wanting to build out XRP and XRP use case everywhere. Judges confirmed that XRP and wrapped XRP will enter the Solana ecosystem through Hex Trust and Layer 0. This move enables XRP exposure within the Solana decentralized financial landscape. XRP will integrate into decentralized exchanges, lending protocols, yield platforms, and perpetual markets. What changes when XRP enters Solana DeFi? Access expands to tens of millions of Solana wallets, and liquidity no longer remains confined to a single network. Interoperability is going to be key to any crypto success. And the fact that XRP and Solana are working together already, okay, that's going to be a powerhouse, I'm telling you. And then you're going to see things build out like Flare Network. I don't have it on here today, but Flare is a layer 1, and they're building directly for XRP. And they're building with partners, or building for specifically to solve problems for institutions that hold like 10 billion plus XRP and want to deploy that across DeFi. The next year is going to be amazing in crypto. There's so many projects that are starting to pop up now. They're starting to get really interesting. Anyway, judges noted that liquidity fragmentation limits asset efficiency. By embedding XRP across chains, Ripple aims to remove those barriers. The approach aligns with the broader efforts to connect XRP with RLUSD and other on-chain assets across supported networks. The more chains XRP is on, the more liquidity it offers, the more value it can hold. We want it everywhere. Ripple X engineering, J.I.O. said Ankeny has described Ripple's long-term focus on multi-chain future. He emphasized that crypto activity naturally spreads across networks rather than concentrating on a single chain. In this framework, the XRP ledger continues to serve as a stable, predictable base layer. The foundation supports security and trust while enabling activity to extend outward. So it has their bank layer, and now they're welcoming in the rest of blockchain technology. So they still have their core principle of the XRP ledger, but now we're able to deploy and access all forms of, or they're trying to make it so you can deploy and access all forms of DeFi and use XRP everywhere and RLUSD everywhere for liquidity. XRP utility takes center stage. Judges closed the session with a clear statement. Ripple does not want XRP used only for trading. The company wants XRP used everywhere. The Solana integration represents one step in a broader distribution strategy that includes Layer 0, Wormhole, and Axelar. As XRP's price remains range-bound, Ripple's roadmap points towards expanding real-world and on-chain usage across ecosystems. I think this is key, because I do think this is what we're going to see 2026. I think this is what most of 2026 is going to be. It's going to be the build out of staking. It's going to be the build out of interoperability. There's going to be adoption. But I think all the groundwork for payments and everything, that's already done. So we're actually going to see what I think as regulation and utility turns on, again, not financial advice, but as regulation and utility turns on, we're going to see this build out of the price from all the things that we've been reporting on the last 3 months, right? So that'll probably happen about 5 or 6 months from now. And then this whole year, we're going to see and hear nothing about information and partnerships with other DeFi protocols and interoperability across chains. Like, we're going to see a spider web of adoption and interoperability, I think, this year, and projects building out to support each other throughout the process. I do think we're going to see a whole new digital landscape. I do think we're going to see a whole new digital landscape in the near future. Just, again, my opinion, not financial advice. All right, but moving on, let's get to the rest of the news. Let's see here. XRP crashed 48% since Ripple co-founder Larson sold 200 million, but there's more. What's wrong with this headline? Does anyone know? I hate this stuff. And I brought this up because, again, this is the negative stuff that keeps coming out. And I think I have it here. If not, I bookmarked it and I'll find it for you. But this comes out. This is complete BS. It's talking about them selling amidst a crash. That's not what they did. He didn't give it. I mean, but his 200 million or whatever it was went to Evernorth. His XRP went to help fund the Evernorth treasury. That's where part of that $1 billion came from. So this kind of stuff, they throw this everywhere. So when you hear people talking about misinformation, this is why. And that's from the Crypto Basic, a crypto quant author. Yeah, that is bogus. Again, my opinion, not financial advice, but when you see stuff like this, again, you have to be careful what you research and read. There is negative stuff out there, and there is positive stuff out there that's BS too. You can be misled. I try to go through it as best I can, but even sometimes I get tricked. That being said, let's move on. Live updates for U.S. unemployment. So the real reason that the price went up today is because unemployment numbers are terrible. They're the worst they have been since September of 2021. So you guys might be thinking, wow, we have terrible employment news. Why does that mean the price is going up? Well, that typically means that we are going to it's more likely for another rate cut in January or February, whichever one it is. I have to look at these. I think it's January. But it improves the probability that we will have a rate cut in January. So the worse the jobs data gets, the better this will do. I know it's completely counterintuitive, but that's really how it works. And we already covered this 45,000% liquidation. So again, price slightly up today. That's because we have bad unemployment data. Counterintuitive, but that's really why. That being said, we also talked about the floor being set at $1.75, and it seems like the sell pressure may be closed out based on RSI and based on the information we're getting as far as the longs and shorts that have been liquidated over the last several days. I do think there's a possibility for another pullback to that $1.75 level, but I think we might be seeing a sharp move upwards in the very, very near future. How high that will go, I don't know. But I do think we're about to see a push just based on the data. Again, not financial advice. And you guys know, I typically don't talk about price, but the indicators are strongly showing that. That being said, let's hop into the chat. I love the chat. Chat's the best part. The chat's my favorite part of the stream, guys. I hope you guys know that. That's why I beat it like a dead horse. So make sure you guys engage in the chat. And if you guys are enjoying the videos, if you guys are enjoying the streams, please hit the like button, subscribe. And that lets me know what you guys enjoy. And let me know in comments and in the chat as well what kind of cryptos you guys might want to see in this new crypto bubble. All right, the stuff that we're going to follow every day for at least a minute or two every day, and we can discuss. I'm curious what you guys are interested in. As well, if someone can let me know how many people are in the stream, let's hop into the chat. Quelly and Brad Dixon were the first ones in today. They said good morning. Let's take a look here. Quelly asks, can you please explain tokenization in detail for those of us who do not fully understand it? What does it mean in practical terms, not just how it will affect the price of XRP? So tokenization is the idea of taking a real world asset and creating a digital interpretation of it on the blockchain, a digital token that represents that real world asset. So when we're talking about the tokenization of the stock market, they're going to create basically a tokenized version of the stock market where you can buy, sell, and trade stocks. But it's all blockchain, which means it's instant, 24/7, has access to the liquidity like XRP. So when you tokenize it, you're bringing the real world value on chain. That is the basic tokenization in a nutshell. So when we get hyped up about the tokenization of the stock market, or we get hyped up about the DTC, and them tokenizing quadrillions, right? Quadrillions of capital. Where is it going? What chain is it going on to? Because that means quadrillions of value is going to be moving into someone's economy, someone's asset class economy. And the more we get of it in XRP on the XRPL, the more it can impact XRP's value. The more Ethereum gets it, the more it can impact Ethereum's value. So really, tokenization is probably going to be the major driver, and AMM and cross-chain is probably going to actually be the more major driver of the price in the next 10 years than cross-border payments, which is what XRP was originally designed for. Think of it this way. I reference Amazon a lot for XRP, but think of it this way. So when Amazon started, it was for cheap books. What is it today, right? So when Ripple and XRP started, it was for cross-border payments. Since then, it has already been built out and branded out. We now have a stable coin. We're now starting to get into native staking. We're getting interoperability and DeFi protocols on Flare, Solana, Ethereum. All of these things are happening, right? They're building it out. Ripple's not going to let it fail, man. I'm telling you. One of the reasons I'm so hyped about XRP is because of the company behind it. There is a company directly behind it, versus Ethereum and Solana and all those kind of things. Yeah, they have their blockchains behind them, but I don't know. It's just different to me. So hopefully that answers your question as far as tokenization, Quelly. I hope that answers it for you. Stephen Haynes said, happy Tuesday. Today is a new day. Today is a new day. Price is up a little bit. It's always a good thing. Daniel Parker said, hey, fella. Well, hello there. Tulare Ralph, will the Epstein file release affect Tether and Bitcoin? I mean, it could. I mean, aliens could come down tomorrow and affect everything. I mean, really, we don't know. We don't know what's in there. I mean, if there's something that implicates major players in Tether and Bitcoin with fraud or privacy issues or things like that, then yeah, absolutely. But we don't know what's held in those files. Tulare, doing great with a TBI. I don't know what that, doing great with a TBI. I don't know what that is. If you could clarify for me, Ralph, I'm not sure. Let's see here. Pretty Chick Canada. Okay. 19 in here so far. All right. Thank you very much. The Three Brothers. Hello. Blood on the Street by the Deep. Yeah, I about said by the Deep. That sounds cooler, actually. Blood on the Street by the Deep. But no, I mean, that's a tale as old as time, right? Three Brothers. I mean, that's old news. You buy when there's fear and blood in the streets, not when it's pumping. No FOMO. No FOMO. I'm here for the long haul. Lori Watson said, it's for grandchildren, which I have none. Is it going to go up to at least $10 in the future? Because it's really hard to believe the government will want this for average people. In the real, okay, so think of it this way, Lori, and this is a great point. In the grand scheme of things, retail only holds about 1 to 2% of XRP. Like, and how many of that's in the United States? Really? So really, maybe 0.5% of XRP is held by people like you and me. So if it appreciates to great numbers, only a select few people are really going to be impacted. Just like a select few people were really impacted when Bitcoin appreciated to huge numbers, or Ethereum, right? We just got in early. I mean, it's all there is to it, in my opinion. Not financial advice. Again, we're still very, very early in this. And I can wholeheartedly say, again, I can't give you financial advice because I'm not a financial advisor, but I 1,000,000% expect XRP to surpass $10 in the future. I can tell you that. I mean, I'm here for what's going to happen 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, okay? When Amazon was 10 years into their business, they were only valuated at about $10, and that's not counting stock splits and everything else that's happened since then, okay? You got to look at the long view. That's what I'm here for. You need to do your own research and your own thoughts and come up with your own thesis, but that's what I'm looking at. Dragonizable said all those ETFs don't matter. Talk to me about that in a year or so, Dragonizable. Kaylin says, what's up, brother? Good to hear from you today. Good to see you again, Kaylin. Good to see you. Stephen Hayes says, when 401ks get access to crypto XRP, will it be like ETFs? So when 401ks get access to crypto, they will have to go through institutional things like ETFs. Yes. So that institutional money will have to flow through institutional safeguarded rails. And yeah, it'll be ETFs. And what I have highlighted, I think the majority of that money is going to go into the index ETFs, because the average person, especially with their retirement, they're going to dip their toe in. And the best way to do that is to get a broad exposure. It's going to be like investing in the S&P 500 of crypto. I think those are going to be the most sought out things. Again, my opinion, not financial advice, but thinking as a 41-year-old person, I have knowledge in crypto of the stock market, but, I'm 41. I talk with a lot of people my age. Most people don't want to think about or understand or any of this, but they want to get involved. And the best way they can do that is to just, buy an index ETF, and they'll get a little bit of exposure. That's how most people, I do believe, are going to get exposure into crypto, is through index ETFs. And I do think a lot of that retirement money is going to go in those. So that's why I really, really want to see a lot of those to start having higher weight with XRP. Again, my opinion, not financial advice. Let's see here. Raul said hello to everyone. Jabez said hi from the one and only Netherlands. Welcome, welcome. Jabez said Japan is going to crash the market. XRP necessary. I talked about it earlier in the stream, Jabez, and I'll cover everything in the recap, but I do think we might have a reverse of buy the rumor, sell the news, and it's sell the bad news, or sell the bad news rumor and then actually buy the bad news. I think we might actually see a pump. And that was based on several factors, and I'll try to cover it again. And I don't talk about price very often. And again, none of it is ever financial advice, but I think we're going to see a push here. Jabez says the lower XRP, the better. Stephen Haynes said HBAR. Okay, someone wants to see HBAR. I do have HBAR in there, and that is one thing that I am holding. So I do have HBAR in there. It was covered up by my screen. So I will move that. Actually, I'm looking at that right now. So I'll move it up to the top in here with the rest of the group so it doesn't get covered up by me next time. Let's see here. Brad Dixon said there's 26 people in the stream. Thank you, Brad. TBI equals traumatic brain injury. Yeah. Okay. I got you. Sometimes the brain don't work. But yeah, no, TBI, I've had 3 strokes, 2 in my caudate, and then 1 in the left frontal lobe, or right frontal lobe. Yeah. 2 in the caudate and 1 in the right frontal lobe. And then I also had 2 hemorrhages and 2 micro hemorrhages in the caudate. So the Cadet is what does like motivation and reward. It basically impacts a lot of the same things that are similar to ADHD. So when you have ADHD and you get brain damage in that same spot, you can imagine what my mind is like sometimes. I'm telling you, it's crazy. George says, we ready for some news? Been dollar cost averaging daily. Got to keep the grind. Well, you know, George, I talked about it, but I actually didn't think about it this way. I mean, we have constantly, as XRP holders, we have constantly been plagued. Good news, price down. So bad news, Japanese carry trade, price up. We can hope, right? I mean, it makes sense. If one must be true, the opposite must be true, right? Kraken says XRP. Jabez, isn't XRP 20 years in? We're close to breakthrough. I mean, you're not wrong. And that's the thing, but you know, it depends. Some of the things we pulled up took 14 years. Some of them took 26 years. Some of them took 28 years. Some of them took 18 years. So the average is 20 years. Believe me, if we could put an exact stamp on it, I'd be a lot richer than I am, and I probably wouldn't be doing this. Well, I still might actually trying to help people. But if you, I mean, you can't put a stamp on it. William Figueroa, any advice on XRP lost to Coinbase because I mistyped a digit in the code? I made the mistake before and they accommodated me, but it seems like it was a one-time courtesy. Very unethical. I have no clue, William. Beg customer service. Unfortunately, you're at their mercy because as we custody our own crypto, we are responsible for that. Ultimately, the responsibility falls on us, so you are at their mercy. Hopefully, they help it out. I mean, hopefully you still. I mean, hopefully you should have the transaction details, so you still have the wallet address you sent it to and all of that. I hope so. Hopefully, they can help you recover it, but I don't have a lot of experience in that. I can't give you the best of advice, but I feel for you. George Evans, what do you think about Ondo? I'm a supporter of Ondo. And actually, I can bring this up for you here. I do hold Ondo. Let me pull it up for you here. So I was looking at this because amidst of how bad things have been over the last couple months, I was looking at this. And it's very prominent. Zcash has been doing great. But that being said, I was looking HBAR down 61%, Chainlink down 56%, Algo down 72%, Avalanche 75%, almost 76%. So like Solana 43%, XRP is down 21%. What's Bitcoin down? I think it was 17%. So for the year, like this bleeding is massive. Oh, there's Bitcoin down 16%, Ethereum down 25%. The entire market is bleeding. And when I see these massive pullbacks, I see opportunity. When there's blood in the streets, it's time for opportunity. So I'm looking at things that have utility, things that have tokenization. Again, none of this is financial advice. It's just where my brain is going. XRP is obviously a huge opportunity, but anything involved in tokenization, Ondo, and anything with adoption and partnerships, Ondo's wired in. They're working with BlackRock. I mean, they have things going on. VeChain down 81%. I think that's another opportunity possibly. I'm really interested in Flare since they're building out directly for XRP. As XRP goes, Flare will go, and they're down 61% today. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunity here, and I'm going to be focusing on XLM down almost 50%. I'm going to be focusing on adoption use case, and partnerships. That's what I'm looking at. But I do think we have a lot of opportunity in this space. Let's see here. So hopefully that answers my thoughts on Ondo for you, George. Jabez said, William, maybe copy and paste next time. Yeah, I would highly recommend whenever you're doing transactions to wallets to copy and paste. And before you do a large transaction to a new wallet, do a test transaction first of just like one or two US, 1 or 2 RLUSD or, something like that. Just a small test to make sure it ends up where you wanted it to go. But we have gone through the entire chat. Again, if you have more thoughts, information, content, let me know. I'm going to hop into a recap for you all. Engage in the chat. And if you want to see anything else on the bubbles from now on that we just had pulled up there, hopefully it was up there. If you guys want to see anything else on the bubbles, let me know. Because we were looking at the bubbles. Hopefully you guys were looking at with me and I was not zoned out. Again, my brain has issues sometimes. But again, lots of opportunity when you look at it for the year. 75% down, 88% down. Now, recap. Moving into the recap. We covered XRP, $1.93. I think our bottom support is going to be the $1.75 level. And if someone can let me know how many people are in the stream, I'd really appreciate it. So the bottom support, I believe, is going to be the $1.75 level. I think we are having a buy the rumor, or not a buy the rumor. Well, buy the rumor, sell the news event in reverse. I think we are selling the bad rumor and going to be buying the bad news. I think we might see a run up at the end of the week. Not financial advice. That was based on what I was seeing in both RSI being drastically oversold for a full 12 hours, which we were talking about right here, as well as a 45,900% liquidation imbalance, showing that 364,800 total shorts were liquidated versus, 364,000 total shorts were liquidated versus $793 on XRP, whereas Bitcoin and Ethereum were much more balanced. Massive pullbacks, but the damage was all done in the shorts, not in the longs, which means that the selling pressure is running out. So we have selling pressure running out in the leverage market. We have RSI completely oversold for a full 12-hour period. I think the selling pressure is wiped out. But if we do get a pullback, we have that $1.75 level to protect us. We went over all the ETF inflows. Again, still zero XRP was removed from ETFs. And we also discussed what ETF inflows are. There is buying and selling within the ETFs, but an outflow is when there is more selling of ETF shares than there is buying of ETF shares. It is not reflected in the price. The price of the ETF follows XRP's price, but the buying and selling within the ETF is how you get the inflows and the outflows. And you can see that by constant XRP being added to the ETF trust. Hopefully that is the best explanation I can give you, because people want to argue prices going down. How can there be 30 days of consecutive buying of ETFs? I mean, you can look at it. I'm not the only one reporting that. I think people are just confused on what an inflow and an outflow is. That being said, we had an additional 4 million, even amidst that 8% pullback today amongst all of the ETFs. There was zero XRP removed, and we actually still had 4 million go in. So again, still positive net inflows even yesterday. The streak continues. Talking about other people doing technical analysis, not just Crypto Bull, but there was others calling about the $1.75 support level. He is predicting a pullback to the $1.75 level before a bounce to $16. That would be great to see overnight. I mean, again, that lines up with what I am kind of predicting for the week. I think we're going to have an increase later in the week. I'm not predicting $16. But I do also see the $1.75 floor that he's calling out as well. And I think that means something. We covered Franklin Templeton being extremely bullish on the increase in ETFs. Again, ETFs are expected, or crypto participation in digital crypto ETFs is expected to increase by 10 to 20x over the next 5 years. Called out by multiple people. You can Google it. That's fine. So everyone believes there's going to be a 10, 20x in crypto over the next 5 years, it seems like. I mean, the entire stock market it got the green light to be tokenized, right? The DTCC is tokenizing, and we'll be utilizing distributed ledger technology. This is fact. So crypto is going to increase. They're predicting a 10 to 20x over the next 5 years. People think this is going to slow down. Really? I mean, I don't understand it. We're here for the long haul. We're here for what's going to happen a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. This day-to-day price action is just noise. We talked about a new part of Ripple. There is a new part of Ripple, a new stage of Ripple, head up by Luke Judges. They are partner success at Ripple, and his entire job is to create partnerships and expand XRP onto other chains. They are spider webbing out as far as they can. Last year was the year, or this year, 2025 was the year of acquisitions for Ripple and XRP and RLUSD. 2026 is going to be the year of partnerships and cross-chain interaction for XRP and RLUSD. Again, my opinion, not financial advice, but I'm calling that shot. As well as regulatory adoption will be happening as well. Again, let me know any of your thoughts in the chat. I'll be very, very happy to go over it. And then we also talked about negative news, that negative false news and false narrative reporting. Like this one, XRP crashed 48% since Ripple co-founder Larson sold 200 million. But he didn't sell the 200 million. His XRP went on chain and went to Evernorth. That was reported. Again, this is just terrible misreporting, and people read this and think it's real. Live updates, U.S. unemployment rate rises, warning signal for the economy. Yet, the stock market went up. The stock market went up on this data because bad data means there's a better chance of a rate cut. Excuse me. Rate cuts mean more liquidity. More liquidity goes into risk assets. So that is why we saw price pump a little bit today, is because we got bad jobs, bad jobs data. That's it. And then we also talked about the liquidation imbalance, which I covered earlier. So that is the whole recap. Let me hop back into the chat here and see what we got going on. So Brad said there was 21 people in here. I appreciate that, Brad. If someone can let me know how many people are in now. I feel like the energy is winding down. The chat's not super active anymore. I love talking to you all. But if I don't have anything to talk about, then it's kind of no point sitting here, right? Kristen Anderson, by liquidated shorts, do you mean swim trunks? Liquidated shorts. Liquidated shorts. If that's a serious question, liquidated shorts is when someone makes a bet that XRP, and they do this in the stock market, just like so you have longs and shorts. A long means someone's making a bet on the price going up. A short is someone's making a bet on the price going down. So when shorts get liquidated, that means they lost their bet and they had to pay a whole lot of money. When longs get liquidated, it means they lost their bet and they lost a whole lot of money. So if you bet on the market going up and you lose a bunch of money, that creates a sharp spike down because that's selling pressure. When you get liquidated on a long, you have to sell that position. So you're betting on it going up. You make a big bet on that. You lose. You have to sell. So now that's selling pressure. And it goes in opposite. So when a bunch of shorts get liquidated, it's the opposite. That's buying pressure because they're forced to get out of that position, which creates the opposite, creates buying pressure. So when a bunch of shorts get liquidated, you get a bunch of buying pressure. And again, this is played with leverage. So when you see these sharp ticks and these sharp spikes, that's all funny money leverage. It's all fake. It's market manipulation. People making bets and losing or winning. The stock market is just a big casino, folks. Not financial advice. Let's see here. Jabez says, maybe it's off topic, but I hear lots of rumors about Luna Classic, even prophecies about Loonseed going up before XRP. Is there any way to think of why this would be possible? What's Luna's goal anyway? I haven't heard a single thing about that, Jabez, and I research XRP every single day. And so that must be massive speculation for me to never even have looked at it. But I'll take a look, but I haven't heard any of that. You were the first person to mention it to me. Brad Dixon said we are at 21. Jabez said we're at 23. If you guys have any thoughts, questions, otherwise, I'm just going to start talking about crypto and what I think and what I'm looking forward to in the future. And I'll just start talking about my theories on investing here. Again, none of this is financial advice. This is speculations, my thoughts, opinions, my life, me personally. So questions, we'll have a little hangout session. As long as we have over 20 people, I'll keep hanging out. So give me some questions I can answer. And otherwise, I'm just going to keep talking about crypto. So That being said, I love this little chart here. That being said, I'm looking at one. So here's what I'm looking at. Obviously, I'm looking at XRP. And what's really cool about this, if you want to do this yourself, it's cryptobubbles.net. You can click on any bubble and it pulls up what it's doing. You can click year, hour, day, week. It shows everything right there, volume. Pretty cool little tool. Shows that, the high was 354 back over here, which everyone has their own high. But anyway, so I'm high on XRP. Obviously, you guys know. I'm not a huge fan of Ethereum, but Ethereum seems to be Wall Street's baby. JP Morgan is basically building and backing Ethereum. It's not going to go anywhere when there's that much money involved. Chainlink has a lot of use case and a lot of adoption in smart contracts, and smart contracts are going to be a huge part of DeFi going forward. Again, adoption, utilization, partnerships. That's one of the reasons why I'm high on Chainlink. HBAR, again, massive in tokenization. Anything tokenization is going to be a win for me. HBAR, Ondo, Avalanche, anything with real world utility and tokenization, because we know tokenization is coming hard and fast over the next 5 years. It's already approved on the DTCC. Massive amounts of value. Moving into that, I am steering out of Bitcoin. I think we are moving to utility and adoption. I think the utility coins are what's going to see the biggest growth over the next 5 years. And I'm starting to pay an interest in things like Flare. And the reason I'm paying interest on Flare is because they are building specifically to support XRP. And there is a lot of stagnant XRP. They were the first one to unleash it, and there was massive demand for FXRP when it came out. I mean, they were launching 5 million a week and it was sold out in hours. So I think as they build and expand this, if they can formally partner with someone like Ripple or something like that to support XRP and to support XRP DeFi and be like a dedicated chain, I think that'd be pretty cool if they could come up with something like that. But I do think there is a lot of room for growth in Flare as well. I think over the next year, we're going to see a lot of interoperability as well. So anything that's focused on interoperability, Solana, Ethereum is majorly involved in interoperability, but they also have a lot of money behind them as well. So anything that's going to stay a one-trick pony like Litecoin, any kind of one-trick pony type coin. I don't even know what Pepe is doing up here. I don't. It was a hot coin, and it got put on my chart here for some reason. Number one rule: never invest in something you never heard of. Absolutely, Hawaii Rider. Absolutely, never invest in something you've never heard of. And when you do your own research. Please, none of you go buy this stuff just because I said it's interesting. Do your own research, please. But so what I'm holding XRP, I'm holding Chainlink, I'm holding HBAR, I'm holding XLM. What else is on this list that I'm holding? I'm holding Ondo. I do hold a little bit of Flare now because I was playing around with FXRP. I'm probably going to pick up some more Flare, be honest with you. I'm also holding Avalanche. And that's about it. That's about it for now. Let's take a look here. Unless investigating before that. Yeah, you have to do your own research, investigate, come up with your own thesis, all of those things, 1,000,000%. That's how people lose money. And let's talk about this too. Let's talk about investing. I want to talk about YouTube and investing in particular. There's a lot of, YouTube is centered around getting rich quick. The number one thing that is searched on YouTube is how to make money fast when it comes to this stuff. That's why every single channel has clickbait titles. That's why every single thumbnail is clickbait, because that's what people are clicking on. And then they stay if the content is good. That's what's working. But that being said, that's what people are wanting to see and craving to see. So when people are told that stuff over and over, and then they find channels like mine, I'm boring. But what's going to happen over the next 5 years, 10 years is this is going to start building out. We're going to see this happen step by step by step by step. It will take time, but we are here for the long haul. We are here for the long view. But guys, I think that is it. I am running out of things to talk about right now. The chat is winding down. I appreciate every single one of you. I will see you tomorrow at 12:30. I'm pushing it back a little bit. I have an appointment at 11, so I'll be at 12:30 tomorrow. I will see you guys then. All right. Later.